Hey everybody, it's Captain Shane, and I'm back with the Flight Factor 757-200. This is an X-Plane 12. You'll notice outside here, I'm at Ontario Airport. It's really hazy and smoky, and that's because here in Southern California, where we actually live, there's some fires burning over here near Highland, California. I have some friends affected, but you'll notice that the smoky haze is present here, which I think is pretty cool that it models that. But that's not what we're doing this video about. Today, I'm going to be going over initial cockpit preparation and getting you all the way to the point where you're about to push and start your engines. What we will not be discussing today is how to set up the FMC, because that should be its own video. It's got a lot going on, but I want to help you set up the whole cockpit. And I'm going to be using my X checklist, personally created checklist here, and I'm going to run through this thing and how it works. And if you'd like a copy of this, just let me know. I have a Discord server, which is in the video description. I'll be happy to give you a copy of this. You just drag and drop it right in. You also have to download the plugin, X Checklist, but it works really good for what I need. So let's go ahead and start. You're sitting on the ground, it's cold and dark, and you don't know what to do. I'm going to help you out. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our electronic flight bag, which is here. It's this little iPad thing. Okay, then we're going to go and we're going to select Operations Ground, and we're going to make sure that the stairs, the chocks, the LSU, the GPU, the fuel truck, and the loader unit are all present. Okay, then we're going to go over to aircraft or airplane, and we're going to hit open all doors. Okay, that's checked off. We can close that up for now. Next, we're going to go to the overhead panel, and I'm going to move this over here real quick so we can watch it. And so we're going to hit the battery, then we're going to hit standby power to auto, then we're going to go external power right here to on, bus tie left and right, on, utility bus left and right, on. Alright, now we're going to go down to the parking brake, and we're going to release it because the chocks are actually in. We don't want the parking brake set unless we're actually operating the aircraft. Okay, now we're going to do our wheel well fire protection test stuff. So that's going to be over here. So we're going to press and hold this button, and we're going to make sure we get the appropriate cautions and warnings on the ICAS, the warning light, and the buzzer. Now we're going to do the engine APU cargo fire test. We're going to press this. We're going to make sure all the indicator lights light up on the fire handles. We have the indications on the ICAS and the warning light. Okay, now this is specific to my virtual airline. If you don't have one, don't worry about it, but for UPS VAC, we use smart cars, and this is at the point where I would turn it on and initiate the flight, because I have a bad habit of forgetting to do that, so I put it on my checklist. If you don't, that's not a concern for you, to skip that step. Okay, next, we're going to go up to our overhead panel again and turn all three of our IRS switches to nav. So 1, 2, 1, 2, oops, overshot it. 1, 2. All three to nav, left, right, center. Okay. Emergency light switch to armed, closed guard. Position lights down here. I'm going to turn on the far left switch, which just turns on your little red, white, and green lights on the wings and tail. Okay, window heat. We're going to go ahead and just turn that on now. That's at the very top. Cabin altitude control. We're going to set it to auto 1. And landing altitude. Now this is when you get out your where you're going to and find out what the landing altitude is. Set it now before you take off, so you don't have to worry about it later. Wing lights. That's going to be these lights over here. That's on as required. They basically light up the tops of the wings. I find them to be kind of an annoyance at night. I don't typically use them. If you want to, though, turn them on as required. Logo light, which would be right here. You turn that on when it's dark or as required. No smoking seatbelt signs. On. Okay, takeoff warning. You need to check to make sure that it works. So take your throttle, move them full forward. You should be getting a warning about the flaps not being set. You should get that chime right there. And back to idle. Okay, takeoff warning is checked. MFDs. Now you would set these based on your needs. So this tutorial is for the old school displays here. Depending on what model of the 757 you purchased, you could have something like this upgrade, right? This is another video because this has quite a bit more buttons and things to mess with. We're only doing old school today, okay? So there you go. To set these up, here's what I typically do. I'll go and I'll set the range on the left side to about 20 or 40. Press the traffic button. Set this side to plan, okay? On the Copilot side, I set traffic button and I set it to map. And I leave it alone. That's all I'm going to do for now. You can also press data button. I kind of like to have that on too. It gives you additional readouts about like arrival times and stuff on each fix. So data on both sides is usually pretty good. Okay, weight and balance. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab our EFB again. Oops, I made that too small. And we're going to go over to the ground section. And again, we can get into this a little bit more in a different video. You need to do your own calculations for how much cargo you're carrying and how much weight, all that stuff. Let's just say I'm going to carry 40,000 pounds of cargo. So 10 pallets, 3,800 pounds each. That's 38,000 plus additional 2,000 pounds. And let's say we're going to carry 16,000 pounds of fuel. I don't like that CG being that far aft on this aircraft, so I click Optimize CG, and I let this thing program where it thinks the CG would be ideal, and 24% on our 757 is really good. So once you're happy that you have your cargo weight, your pallet positions, and your fuel weight the way you want it, write down, and you look at my checklist, right? You're going to write down the gross weight, the zero fuel weight, and the CG. In our case, we'll put 157.9, 173.9, and 24. I write that down on a piece of paper for later. And now you're going to hit load aircraft. Loading the plane. Please wait. It'll take a few minutes to load the fuel to this level and all that. Once that's done, you leave it alone. Okay? Now, we need to initialize the IRS on our FMC. And again, I don't want to get into a prolonged FMC video. We'll do that later on. But I'm going to show you just what you got to do to set up the cockpit here. So we're going to select the one left line select key at the top. Don't mind the nav database. I haven't done my ARAC yet. Select position initialization on 6 right line select key. These are line select keys here. Okay. Select GPS position 4 right. So we're going to click here. And then we're going to press IRS position 5 right. And input it. Okay? And that's done. We'll come back to the FMC setup later, but I will say the next thing you really want to do to help initialize is you're going to put in the reference airport there as well. But, again, different video. We're not going to get any further into that. So let's assume that we're programmed the FMC for flight. At that point, once we set up the FMC, your V-speed should populate here. Now, if we're on the enhanced avionics, there's more steps to that. I'll do a separate add-on video for that later on, how to set the V-speeds for the updated avionics package. Okay, almost done with this initial cockpit prep. Next, we're going to go down to the clock. I moved the control wheel over a little bit. I like to reset my clock because usually it's running for some of the time. So I'll go down to reset, then hold, right? Reset, then hold. So we can start this timer later on if we need to. Okay, clock is done. Initial cockpit preparation checklist is complete. Now let's say we're ready to finalize everything. We're going to go to fuel quantity, check and confirm. So I'm going to look up here on my overhead and verify that the fuel load that I want is on board. Now you'll see that they're still putting fuel on the aircraft, so normally this is done by the time I'm ready to check this because I'm still setting up the FMC, which takes a few minutes. But let's just say for the sake of this video that we have our 16,000 pounds aboard. We're going to confirm that that's how much is actually on board from what we wanted. Okay, FMC, check and confirm. We're going to go and make sure that everything is set up the way we like it. The pre-flight's complete and it's ready to go. Okay, now over to the glare shield control panel thing here, whatever Boeing calls these things. Flight director's on. Pilot, co-pilot. Auto throttle, arm. MCP airspeed. Now this might be MCP might be that's probably MD11 talk. Sorry, but you'll get the general idea. Set airspeed to V2. That usually is done for you once you're done with your FMC. You're gonna set your initial takeoff heading here for runway 26 right at Ontario. Man, look at that smoke. It's gonna be 258. Okay, and you look at your departure, your standard instrument departure to determine what your initial heading should be. Initial altitude will be as assigned by ATC, and if you don't have ATC, it's whatever you want. If I don't have ATC, I usually set it all the way up to my final cruise altitude. If no one's gonna tell me to stop, I'm just gonna keep going, right? Okay, altimeters. Now you're gonna set and cross-check these. So let's just say the altimeter at Ontario today is 3012, just for sake of purpose, right? You're gonna set that here, but here's a little trick. If you want to get over to the co-pilot side, you can just do this. Look, hover your mouse over the screw until you see the arrow. Left-click that, and then you'll notice that the co-pilot's altimeter is also set. Honestly, we might as well just set it to the right thing. The Ontario Airport altitude is about 960. So that actually gives us a altimeter setting of 29082. So we'll reset that. Also come down here to your standby, which won't react to the screw, and set that to the appropriate altimeter setting. Okay? Auto brakes. RTO. Rejected takeoff. Weather radar. That's going to be this panel here. Set it to weather and turbulence. Okay? ILS panel. Now this is what I like to do, is I set these to the runway that I anticipate having to come back to in the event of an emergency. Okay? You probably won't need to, but it's good to have it set so it's one less thing you have to mess with now. So in the case of Ontario, it would be 258 front course and 109.7 for ILS 26 right. Okay? Next, for the last step in the final cockpit preparation, you're going to set the ATC assigned squawk code. Let's say it's 2321 for the sake of this video. You're going to set that in there, okay? Final cockpit preparation checklist is complete. Now, last thing we need to do before we're ready to start is the before start / pushback checklist. So, a display, we're going to set it to status by pressing this button over here. APU, we're going to go up to the overhead and move it over to start. You don't need to put it back to on or anything. Put it in start and it will spring load back to on when it has reached the desired RPM. Just leave it there. Okay, doors and windows. Now you're going to grab your little electronic flight bag again. You're going to go over to airplane. You're going to click close all. Done. There, you heard him. Now we're going to go to their overhead setup. Yaw dampers on left and right here. Now, this here is Rolls-Royce engine only. You're not going to see these on Pratt & Whitney's that I can recall. So that's why I put note, Rolls-Royce engines only. You need to open these guards and press these to normal. Okay, did you see the APU spring load back to on? There you go. So that's the electronic engine control. Okay, hydraulic pumps. At this point, I just turn them all on. Only a couple of these will turn on because some of them are electric. The other ones are engine driven. And this one I believe is potentially like air driven. I have to look in my pilot manual again. Okay, APU generators over here, left and right. External power. Oh, okay, I missed a step. Let me take that back. I missed a step here. Let's go back. After the hydraulic pumps, you're going to turn on the APU generator. So you see that on flow line come on. External power is going to come off now, okay? Because your APU generator is now powering the aircraft. Generator control left and right to on. Up to the center again. Engine limiter left and right. On and on. This is again, I believe, only found on the Rolls-Royce equipped engines, the RB211s. The Pratt & Whitney 2040s don't have this. Okay, fuel pumps. You're going to turn the forward and aft pumps on left and right. If you have a lot of fuel in the center wing and you want to use it, you'll turn those pumps on as necessary, but we basically have almost no usable fuel in there, so I'm going to leave them off. Okay, parking brake. Now we're going to set it. Now this next step you can do really quickly. Wheel chocks, age, and wheel chocks, age, and ground equipment. I go over to the EFB, go to ground, and I click remove all. It's done. Put that thing away, you're done with it. So the wheel chocks and age is removed. Back to the overhead. Anti-collision lights, red, on. Cabin temperature controllers, that's up here. We're going to put all three to auto. Alright. Trim air, on. Recirc fans left and right, on. Now, if you see that it says in up here, chances are you have to recycle these utility buses over here. Do you see how they say off? If you see this happen, something went awry with the swap over to APU gen power. So just turn them off, turn them back on. You'll notice that the off lights go out, and now your recirc fans come back on. So there you go. Okay, isolation valve, open it, or on. APU bleed on. Now watch what happens when we turn on the APU bleed. You have bleed air pressure coming in. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the engine bleeds, but there's not going to be anything in them because the engines aren't on. Okay? We should be done with the overhead now. So over to the... oh, I take it back. Engine start. Ensure that both is on. Both. Okay, now we're going back to the front panel here. We're going to set our engine display to engine, which is the left button. And again, this is up to you and how you like to run your clock. I personally like to start my clock the second I start running engines. So you can start this whenever you like, but I like to start it right about now. So I click the clock to run. And then I'm going to do is call for my pushback, which I use better pushback module.
Route cockpit.
And then you set how you want to taxi or get pushed out of the spot so you can go. It's already preset from a previous time that I've flown. And basically, you would also call for your push to start clearance if you're on VATSIM with a ground controller or anything like that. But essentially, that is your full cockpit preparation from the cold and dark to being ready to fly. Obviously, we're still waiting for the IRUs to align here, so that's not, you know, we got time for that, but this time would normally be taken up by running through the FMCs here, which we'll do in another video. So anyway, guys, thanks. Oh, I know what it is. We are aligned. It's because I have this on plan because I normally would look at my waypoints when I'm putting in the FMC flight plan in here. If I set that back to map, we do have guidance, and our IRUs are aligned and they're ready to go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned soon for FMC setup, which is going to be its own module. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.